Thanks for joining us today. Today we are going to talk about the new Kiawah Island residential drop-off program. We're going to cover Composting 101, what it is, how it works, and then focus in on the program itself with Kiawah and how the commercial composting program works and what's accepted in this program. Food is the #1 item that's found in landfills. Can you believe that food scraps make up over 20% of our garbage? And the reason this is important is because Charleston County's landfill only has 15 years left on its life. So anything we can do to divert food from the landfill and regenerate it into compost is a key component to making that landfill last longer. The first step before we get to composting is to prevent food waste in the first place. So as you can see here is a photo of a very full refrigerator. Maybe you have had yours look like this at some point. The key here is to think first when you're making your shopping trip. So make a list, plan ahead, know what gets eaten in your home and what goes to waste, and try to make great shopping decisions when you go to the store. Composting 101. What is composting? It's the natural process of recycling organic matter such as food scraps into a valuable soil amendment. The resulting decomposed matter is called compost. It's rich in nutrients and can be used as a natural fertilizer. Composting does have many benefits. It combats climate change by reducing greenhouse gas emissions. It also helps protect against flooding. Compost holds much more water than traditional soil. And it can help save plants and animals because it allows our plants to be stronger without as much need for fertilizers and pesticides. So how does sending food scraps to the landfill create methane? When we put our food scraps in the trash, it gets put inside of a trash bag, and then it gets taken to the landfill where it's buried in what I like to call a trash lasagna. So that food scraps are inside your trash bag, piled underneath more trash bags, and then the landfill uses something called landfill cover to where they just keep creating layers and layers of trash. And when that happens, your food is going to rot instead of breaking down naturally, and that creates methane gas, which is a harmful, potent greenhouse gas. So let's talk about the food waste program here for Kiawah residents. There's going to be 2 locations, one at Kiawah Island Town Hall. The other will be at the Kestrel Court Recycling Center. They'll be similar to the photo here. You'll have a cart with a lock on it. So how do you participate? First, you're going to collect your food scraps at home. You can keep them in the freezer. You can use a countertop bin. And then you're going to take them to one of these drop sites. Once you're there, as I mentioned, the carts will have locks on them. So you'll want to unlock the cart, put in your food waste, and then take your container home, rinse it, and repeat the process. You do need to sign up for this program. As I mentioned, every cart has a lock on it. And when you sign up for the program, you receive the proper training, and then you'll receive the code to the carts. Managing fruit flies. So this comes up a lot in the summertime. People wonder how they can do the program and not deal with the fruit flies. Keep in mind that fruit flies, although attracted to your compost bin or your food waste bin, are not created by your food waste bin. They actually are laying their eggs on the produce before it ever makes it into your home. And so when that produce sits for a while, they have the opportunity to hatch and they are attracted to the smell of that decomposing food. So one of the tips I love to share for avoiding that is put your food waste in the freezer if you have space, or maybe the fridge, that until you can take it to the nearest drop-off site. That will help avoid these fruit flies, but just know that they are a natural part of the process. So how does the Bees Ferry compost facility work when we take your food waste scraps there? More specifically, how do they turn this into this? Let's talk about the compost cycle. As we mentioned, you're going to start at home collecting those food waste items. You can use a countertop bin. You can upcycle something that you already have or buy one that is appealing if you want to keep it out on your countertop. And then you're going to take it to the nearest drop site for you, where you're going to see our 64-gallon smart carts. Unlock the bin, put it inside. And then Smart's drivers will come along in their big truck and empty those bins into a trailer system and take it to the compost facility. There, McGill Composting will do the hard work of processing that food waste and turning it into compost, where they can then sell it to other gardeners and farmers and hopefully grow more food, therefore completing that food cycle. So what happens at Bees Ferry? Bees Ferry needs two things to make compost. They need both yard waste and food waste. So then in Charleston County, they collect all of the yard waste at the curb that goes to the Bees Ferry facility, where they're going to grind that up and mix it with the food waste. It takes 10 parts yard waste to 1 part food waste to make compost. Then they're going to put it in what you see here is called windrows, and they need to put that there for 15 days, and it's going to cook at 131 degrees. After that, they're going to move them into aerated static piles, where it's going to cure for another 30 days. Those tubes in the picture here are adding oxygen to those static piles to help the compost process continue. So once all of that is completed, in 45 days, they have finished compost that they can sell to consumers. That 45 days is important. We're going to talk about BPI certified products and why that matters. Now, if you are interested in receiving some of the compost that you helped create, you have 3 options. Kiawah is actually part of this program. They are planning to give back to the residents. So in the fall, keep your eyes out for a giveaway program, a special day where you will be able to come back and get some compost for free as a participant of the program. However, if you need it sooner or you need more of it, there's other options for you. You can buy it in bulk. You can go to Bees Ferry's website called beesbestcompost.com, put in your zip code, and they will tell you the retailers nearest you that are selling that in bulk. But if you need a smaller amount, you can also just take a 5-gallon bucket to the Bees Ferry facility in West Ashley, and for just $1, you can fill up that bucket. So let's talk about what is accepted in the program. Let's start with fruits and vegetables. That's probably the most obvious thing here. Any peels, any part of the vegetable or fruit that you didn't eat can go in your food waste bin. Additionally, dairy products, milk, cheese, yogurt. If you've heard about backyard composting, you may be thinking that those aren't good for your compost, but in a commercial program, they're perfectly acceptable. Also, compostable liquids. We're talking about small amounts, such as if you cut up a watermelon, you might have some leftover juice from that, or you had a soup and you didn't quite finish it. Those items are compostable. Processed food. So this could look like a frozen pizza, corn dog, anything that probably came out of the freezer and then you heated it up and ate it. But if you didn't finish it, those can go in your food waste bin. Bread, bakery, pastas, and grains, whether you've made it fresh at home or you purchased it at the bakery, all of those items are compostable as well. Coffee and tea grounds and filters. So both the coffee grounds, the tea leaves, and the filters that you used are compostable. But keep in mind, sometimes with those tea bags, you want to make sure that they are made out of a paper product. These days, there's a lot of them that are made out of plastic, so keep an eye out for that, as well as the staples. If you're buying a tea bag that has a staple in it, you'll need to remove that staple from the tea bag. Eggs and egg shells are accepted in this program, as well as cooked meats and fish, bones and shells. So we don't want to put raw meat in there, but cooked meat is acceptable. That's another thing. If you've done backyard composting, you're probably thinking that's new to here, but for a commercial facility, they can accept those. The only exception to this rule is oyster shells. And South Carolina has a great oyster shell recycling program, SCDNR. You can go to their website to search for the nearest drop site for you. But that program is really important because South Carolina actually purchases $10,000 worth of oyster shells every year to subsist this program because not enough residents recycle their oyster shells. So please go search their website, find a place to drop those off, and utilize that program. And then you might have noticed I skipped over food soiled paper. We are going to go into more details about that on another slide, but it's important to note here, if you've got greasy napkins or soiled paper products, those could go in the compost program. And we even soiled pizza boxes. So if you have a pizza box and the bottom half is really greasy, you want to tear the top part off and recycle that in your regular cardboard recycling program. But that bottom part, because it's soiled, can't be recycled, but it can be composted. But we want to keep in mind that, you know, each site just has one of these 64-gallon carts and lots of residents hopefully will be using it. So you want to be cautious of overfilling that cart with just cardboard. So while we encourage you to compost it if needed, if it's clean cardboard, please recycle it first. No plastic. So we're going to go into what doesn't go in your compost bin. If you do want to use some sort of bag to put your compost in, we encourage you to look for BPI compostable material. So you can find this logo and you'll know that the product you're purchasing will break down in the commercial facility and therefore it's accepted in this program. This not only goes for compostable liners, but also food containers. You might have a favorite restaurant that you frequent. And if you're getting to-go containers, ask them, are they using BPI certified compostable products for their to-go containers? If the answer is yes, you can compost them in this program. If the answer is no, encourage them to change that. We also offer commercial services for restaurants, so that's something we could help them with if they're interested. But always look for this logo. If you're having an event at home and you want to use disposables, you can purchase BPI compostable products for that. So your utensils, your plates, your cups, those are all available online. And then if you do that, you can put them in this program. So what else doesn't go in the food waste bin? No raw meat. That's the biggest one. Raw meat can only be accepted at commercial composting facilities if they have a special permit for it. And the compost facility at Bees Ferry has chosen not to get that permit, and so they don't accept raw meat. Cooked meat, as I mentioned before, is fine, but you don't want to, if you didn't cook a Thanksgiving turkey and it somehow went bad, unfortunately, that can't go in this program. No fats, oils, or grease. This is, again, talking about large amounts of oil. So if you did cook that turkey and you deep fried it, that vat of oil cannot be composted. There are great oil recycling programs with the county. So again, look for your local recycling center and find out where you can take that. But large amounts of oil should not go in your compost food waste bin. However, if you sauteed a fish in your pan, you've got a little bit of olive oil left, that is okay. You can put that in your food waste bin. We just want to avoid large amounts of grease and oils. No plastic items, probably goes without saying, but if you have plastic that's recyclable, please do so. But no plastic should go in your food waste bin. Same for other non-food items such as metal, glass, ceramics, pet droppings, and yard debris. You might think, why aren't pet droppings compostable? But they are not accepted by the compost facility and they should not go in the program. And the same for yard debris. You heard me say earlier, well, yard debris is an ingredient in the compost process. However, they need to accept that separately from the food waste so that they can make the right mix. And then, of course, no chemical cleaner. So anything you put in that collection container at home is going to end up in the compost facility and in the final product. So we don't want to use bleaches to clean out that container. If you do feel the need to do something to clean it, I encourage you to use white vinegar, or if you've got a smell and you want to address that, you could use baking soda or cinnamon, but no commercial bleach-based cleaners. And of course, last, when in doubt, leave it out. If you really aren't sure and you've reviewed this and you still don't know the answer, it's best to just leave it out, because what happens if we have contamination in the cart is the entire cart ends up at the landfill because we can't contaminate the final product. So we just encourage you to make best choices as you can, but if you are absolutely not sure, just keep it out of the food waste bin. Some other items that you probably find in your kitchen or near your food, but are not compostable. Plastic bags, again, probably an obvious one, but no plastic bags. If you want to use some sort of bag to collect your food waste, do look for those BPI compostable liners, or if you decide to use a plastic bag, don't put it in the cart. Hopefully you aren't using too many of those at home anymore anyways, but we like to remind you. Bread tags. So it doesn't matter whether it's the plastic ones or the metal ones, neither would be compostable. And then these produce stickers, they're so small and you might think, what's the big deal? But the glue that makes these stick to our produce so well keeps them from breaking down in the composting process. And although one or two may seem so small, when hundreds of people are leaving those on their banana peels or their apple peels and putting it in the program, it ends up in that final compost product. And so when somebody's gardening and they have 100 of these produce stickers in their compost, they're not going to be pleased, and it doesn't make for a good final product. So please peel those off and put them in the landfill trash. And then of course, rubber bands, you might have some of those on your broccoli or asparagus, but they are not compostable. As I mentioned, I'm Megan with Smart Recycling. We are the commercial hauler for this program. If you haven't signed up yet, you can go to kiawahisland.org/compost to sign up and get the code today.